Hello, everybody. So I'm Quentin. I'm co-founded Shimmers. Shimmers is an incubator. It's a hub fueling the creator economy. So what we do is we help influencers, creators, celebrities, artists in creating their own brand. They've been doing promotion for other brands for the past 10 years, maybe. Now they're looking at diversifying their revenues. So we really help them do all the back office and building meaningful brands. We also help them build meaningful collaboration with brands, building capsule collections or co-creating products with their favorite brands. And also we are helping some founders, entrepreneurs in accelerating their brand, collaborating with influencers, structuring their business with a digital-first mindset.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sophie. I co-founded Shimmers with Quentin. I'm actually based in France. He's based in Dubai. Our company is based across both markets because we see opportunities in both, but we also capitalize on the fact that made in France products have huge opportunities for the rest of the world. So today we are going to show you how we see opportunities for creators to be active in the beauty space and what opportunities are there for them to become entrepreneurs.
So we have a first question for you. Who can define what the creator economy is? Anybody aware of what we call today the creator economy?
Any idea?
You have 3 answers possible. Okay, thank you very much for taking part in that questionnaire. So, it's a business built by now more than 50 million independent creators. It can be content creators, artists, videographers, anybody that's actually creating content on the digital space, we call them creators. It's a business worth more than $100 billion. This includes obviously also all the social media platforms, all the tools that are provided to creators to actually build businesses. Why we like it the most is because it's a people-driven business. It's actually plenty of people living out of their passion. And we find this very interesting. So now we're going to be a bit more precise about what the creator economy is, give you some intels, because it seemed that you really knew what we were talking about. So everybody's talking about Web3 as the next digital thing. But actually, the creator economy is stage 3 of what we call influencer marketing. Just for you to remember maybe what it was before, it was about acquiring an audience. So you were creating your Instagram account, your Facebook account, and then you were sharing some moments with friends and families. And then you start using hashtag to grow your community, get new followers, talk about passion, your different passions, and potentially you had all the chances to become an influencer. That's where it was the right time to start making money out of it. So it was about understanding exactly how the algorithm were working and trying to grow again the community. This is where also influencer marketing agencies came to life, creating those connections between brands and influencers, monetizing audiences. The talent agents as well were really becoming a business. And for brands, it was a great opportunity, a new communication channel, trying to reach also very targeted audience with people that had very engaged communities. Now this all has evolved. And this is where we are today. So it's becoming the creator economy. This is where all those creators are understanding that things are changing, and those who have the most entrepreneurial mindset are looking at diversifying also their source of revenues, the things they do, and how they do it. So I mentioned today 50 million creators. Out of those, you have about 47 million which are amateurs, and 2 million that are real professionals. Most of them are on YouTube, also because that's where you create rich and added value content. But it also is quite strong on Twitch, where you have lots of gamers, and quite a few influencers on Instagram as well, making a real business of what they're doing. So you're going to ask why we call it the creator economy. Why not still call it influencer marketing? Well, we don't talk about influencers anymore. Influencers, this was before. It can be seen a bit as negative. Sometimes you see some backlash. It was about taking pictures of your avocado toast, of your coffee in a jet, and maybe creating some collabs with brands and just photo shooting a few products here and there on Instagram. Now all this has changed. It has changed a lot after the pandemic because people and the audience especially was looking for something much more interesting, and we're looking to engage with influencers in a much more meaningful way. What we can see as well in the numbers is that the brands are actually not offering those creators what they want. They still are stuck on doing some product promotions, promo codes, or meaningless activations. It's just about creating a photo with a product, and it's just a quick win for them, but it's not really meaningful, and it's not very interesting for the audience, and you do see this as an impact on social media. Where you can see, and that's quite interesting, you see the creators that are looking for long-term ambassador programs, a lot of co-creation, and they actually want to talk about meaningful topics, such as CSR topics, where brands are hardly interested in doing so. And then there's been, and especially in the past few months, with the change of Meta and Instagram, a change in the distribution potential because they have changed dramatically their algorithm. And usually, where influencers were always gaining a traction and still being able to grow their communities, now all this has changed. And they understood that they were very dependent for their revenues, especially for the professional ones, on those platforms. That's why they're looking for diversification. So how does the creator economy develops? There's 3 different channels that we identified. One is subscription-driven platforms. Those are growing to create more meaningful content that is exclusively available for those who are paying to access the content created by their favorite creators. And for creators, it have also a direct channel to talk to their most loyal fans. What we see as well is influencers and creators jumping into NFTs and merchandising. This is especially true for all the gamers because you always have the geeks that are interested by those kind of topics. And it's also engaging with the most loyal and fan base followers. And the next evolution is creators becoming new founders. This is where they actually get offline or partially offline and build their own brands. It's especially true in the business industry. So just an overview of the different platforms that you can find in paid subscription. You have Precheur. You probably all heard of that platform, where it gives you access to exclusive content and a deeper connection as well with your favorite creator. And you can directly fund one or the other project, so it's the interaction level is much higher. Another platform, different business model, is Masterclass that has been growing over the past few years, where we see very high added value, educative content from celebrities in their own field that are providing some masterclass to their followers. And then you have the big players coming in as well. YouTube was one of the first to jump onto that. You have now a subscription on YouTube where you actually have an ad-free viewing of all the content on the platform, plus access to some exclusive content from those celebrity creators that are owning also the platform. When it comes to NFTs and merchandising, OpenSea is the #1 platform for NFTs. You probably all heard of that. It's quite easy to access. It's quite easy also for content creators to create NFTs. And the followers know that name, so it's also easier for them to engage with those kind of NFTs. Then Closer, this is very interesting. It's actually a new social media platform. that has just launched and homegrown in the GCC, which provides embedded NFTs on the platform, and especially social NFTs. What we call social NFTs, it's actually NFTs that are experiences that you can have with the creator. That means you could go for dinner with your favorite creator, and that would be an NFT that can be resold to the fan base. So it's quite interesting approach to more and better engagement with creators. And then you have Fanjoy. That's one of the leading platforms where you can create merchandising. So as a creator, you go there and you have ready-to-label sweatshirts, T-shirts, mugs, iPhone case, whatever, that you can actually then resell to your most loyal and fans there. Again, a lot of the gamers are on those merchandising items.
Okay, so now let's look a bit closer as when creators are becoming the new founders, and especially in the beauty world, because this is what we are interested in today. So they become founders when they stop only monetizing the audience and working with other brands, but they really create and own the brand. They shift from a very attention business-driven model to the ownership of what they are selling. So I'm going to show you a few examples of how that evolved from being creator to co-creator to founder and business owners. So first example of co-creation, which I'm sure you've seen, Chiara Ferragni. She's one of the oldest, even though she's very young, creators and influencers. She's based in Italy, but she's collaborated with many brands worldwide. And in the beauty space, she collaborated in 2019 and 2020 with Lancôme, the very famous brand, on a makeup collection, very visible, very desirable. It's a lipstick, it's a mascara, it's a palette, so products you can easily show on internet. And in 2020, if you remember, we were in the middle of lockdown in many countries and markets, and the brand was really clever because they capitalized on their social media, on her social media, and they did a huge launch online as a happening where it was the first kind of see now, buy right now type of experience with the co-creation. Super successful collaboration, and she's actually replicated it with many other brands. One which was really recent was with Nespresso, the coffee brand, showing that the co-creation has actually legs to go to a lot of different markets. Another one which we love to look at and we find super interesting is Beautyworld. It's an American-born brand. Actually, it's not really a brand. They call themselves community-driven capsule collections. And community is a word that comes multiple times on their platform because they work with the community of people who want to buy their products, but also the community of the creators who they collaborate with. So not only they do not have an umbrella brand, they have several capsule collections that they launch by drops, meaning that they have smaller collections, smaller batches, super affinitary. Actually, what they explain is that people can pre-order the collections, so there's less waste. So they create capsule collections with creators that are super tailored to an audience, which actually participates in the launch. So they have organized, for example, Zooms and meetings where communities could really have their say, have their point on the products. So super interesting type of collaboration model that has been going on for 2 years. And last one, I wanted to show something that was also super relevant to the region and the GCC, the Mac Makers collection that was launched in 2020, actually just before one of the lockdowns. This is when the celebrity makeup brand that was launched quite a while ago has partnered with models, influencers, makeup artists from the region, allowing them to create their dream shade that will actually match what the audience wants. The Mac Makers collection has been successful and is launching this year with Africa and with Asia, showing that it has legs to empower the creators to give to their community what they want in terms of products. But now, from co-creating to creating, there's a huge step, and we see that a lot of them have managed to create actually not just a capsule collection, but a beauty powerhouse. And I've shown a few logos on that presentation, most of them that I'm sure you know, but there's hundreds of brands created by creators that are successful, and actually the NeoReach, which was one of the sites dedicated to that type of data, estimates that creator-founded businesses in beauty are worth $1.5 billion, generating a lot of traffic online, generating a lot of business and a lot of paid media advertising. That's why we call it a creator economy, because it's not only the products, it's the system and it's the energy that is driven around it that drives the full economy and the business. So let's look at just a few examples that I wanted to show and explain why these are successful and why they have the right to express themselves in beauty and what they have been long-standing. So first one, which again I'm sure you know about, and actually they have 51 million followers on Instagram, 8 million on TikTok. It's very hard to not be able to see them, is Huda Beauty. So key success factor number one, she is the brand. I mean, she is the face of the brand, she's the voice of the brand, she's the artistic director of the brand. The brand launched in 2013, so it's been a little bit less than 10 years, started with a blog by a makeup artist, and now has a lot of credibility because it's authentic. She knows beauty, she was a makeup artist at first, and that's why she constantly continues to mix her personal life with the brand, because she owns it, she lives it. Success number two is a very strong curated social media strategy that evolves with time, with what the generation wants, very video-driven, also very driven by a balanced mix between product-driven, promotion-driven, and authentic-driven type of content, and the network of influencers that gravitates around the brand, that constantly posts and talks about the brand, that keep augmenting the reach. Success factor number three, and that will remind you what I was mentioning about Bubble, inclusivity in the innovation program. The brand is constantly asking the community, what do they want to see? Have they liked the products? Can they give recommendations? And even announcing innovation calendar ahead of time. So first, it drives anticipation, but also a feeling of being included in the development plan. So that shows again that creators' brands have an opportunity to create a huge affinity with the audience, driving sales with an even closer relationship, even when the brand was born online. Another example, a brand called Gisou, that has a very strong and actually unique storytelling for that type of brand, because it's all based on the message of bee farming, bee harvesting tradition that was long-standing in the family. The hero product, which is a honey-infused oil, is actually inspired by a very ancient traditional recipe that she explains a lot. And again, authenticity in the message. I will use this word quite a lot because it seems to be resonating with creator-founded brands that have been successful. Success factor number two, which is a topic that we have talked about yesterday when we were talking about clean brands, sustainable brands. The brand has a corporate sustainability message around bee farming, and they actually have created a program of bee protection in urban zones that they have started in New York, then extended to Melbourne. They have it in Paris, they have it in Amsterdam, and they have the plan to expand it to even more markets. Why does it resonate? Because the new generation feel strongly about brands that have a message, that have a mission, that are not just here to sell products, but that are here to defend a cause. So that's why we see that this brand has been growing and has been extending to all of the markets. And the last case study, we were actually super happy to meet with Deepa, who's the founder of the brand Indie Wild. She's Indian-born, but has been living abroad for quite a while. But again, authenticity was very important into the launch of the brand because it's based on Ayurvedic teachings from her mother. Ayurveda, we know, is a very ancient tradition from India. Actually, we talked about it yesterday with one of the brands that was presenting. The teachings have inspired her to launch a brand that was based on a family heritage. So again, very much like, we've talked about Huda, we've talked about Nerine, the line is very blurry between the influencer, the creator, and the brand, because they mix the content, they talk about their true story. So the brand is about Ayurvedic beauty and has launched with only 2 products. Very short range of products. I mean, we rarely see a beauty brand launching with 2 products, morning serum, evening serum, but targeting clean beauty, tradition, naturally sourced ingredients, and also speaking to a community of consumers that probably has felt there was not enough products for them, the Southeast Asian community of consumers. And actually, she's claiming that she's putting customers at the center of the strategy. So before developing 25 new products and having an extensive range, the brand is going abroad. It launched in the US, then in the UK, has expanded into India with a lot of opportunities for consumers, and it's expanding then to more markets. In the first few months of the launch of the brand, they have done $500,000 in sales just with 2 serums. So what qualities do the founders have in common? Because they are creators at the beginning, but now they have founders of the brand. They are entrepreneurs. They have a strong identity, something very personal that they have to share and that they have infused in the brand. They are engaged into developing something different for the community with a long-term project in mind, and they are tapping into a wide and very engaged community, which is the core of what they sell and helps them to accelerate very fast. But I know there's criticism on the brands created by creators, influencers, celebrities, and can they all do it, right? So that's an example that's been in the press multiple thousands of times. Brad Pitt has launched a skincare brand. So we all know, I hope, Brad Pitt. I mean, everybody is fan of the movies and is an excellent actor. But I don't recall him sharing any skin concerns, any passion about beauty, any passion about laboratories, skincare, etc. But he launched a skincare brand. So we see that there's a lack of authenticity in the message, in the interest, which triggers a lack of credibility. I mean, that was hard to trust, that was hard to believe in, and the price point is even so elevated that it makes even harder to believe that there is something so amazing in the brand. So is that the way forward? The beauty industry has criticized the launch. So we must be wondering now, okay, has this craze gone too far? Are there too many influencer-led beauty brands? And I think that makes us think again about what we looked at in the successful brands. Authenticity, engaged community, and the message, and that's what truly makes the difference. Because consumers, they don't want another influencer or credibility brand. They want a founder-led brand.
So that takes us to question, what are the next steps for a creator to become a successful founder? Would it be in beauty or in any other category? It needs to be truthful to themselves, and where it's actually open to plenty of businesses beyond beauty. So what we do usually when we meet a creator, we question them on many, many different aspects. The initial one is, what is the ambition? First and foremost, do they want to have more meaningful collaboration with brands? Are they frustrated not to be creative enough in what they do? And that can be a great step, is to actually start with a capsule collection. I don't know if you can hear me.
Please make your way at the founder stage a little bit more. Thank you.
Sorry for that. So, thanks. It can be a great first step to actually start with a collab, a capsule collection, to test and learn how they feel about being part of a creative project that is probably a bit more than just creating content, a video, or going on a press trip for a brand. Or are they ready to become a founder? In that case, do they have what it takes? And we've seen all the qualities that it requires, and that might be a few entrepreneurs here in the room, and you know what it takes to be a business owner. Or maybe they already have a brand, or a project that they've actually started slowly and that they want to accelerate. How can we help them also grow? How we can make the business a bit more sound, structured, maybe look at what market they're ready to expand to, and how we can maybe optimize that project as well. The big question, and especially when they want to become a brand founder, is are they ready? So 3 things we ask them is, again, how much time are they ready to commit to the project? They already have a job. Huh? Being an influencer, being a content creator requires a lot of time, a lot of energy. Creating the content, traveling, editing, answering all the comments, interacting with the audience is already a job. How much are they ready to commit to it? How much are they ready to let go? Maybe a few brand collaborations as well, if they are seen also as direct competition to some brands that are collaborating with them. So that's really the motivational question that we ask first. Then, do they have a good story, a good project, something that feels, look authentic, and is relatable to their life stories, what to do, or to what they do, what they talk about. It needs to be authentic. Otherwise, you've seen the examples on few celebrity brands. It just won't work. We don't feel that there will be the right connection with the audience. And then, obviously, money is always a topic. Who's going to finance? Are they going to put money? What kind of business model are they looking at? How long are they ready to wait to see some revenue? That's not just used to that. They usually get paid quite quickly and quite a lot of money by brands. So it's a big question to ask. The next step is the roadmap. Obviously, and especially it's true in beauty, where fashion, you can go a bit quicker. Maybe you don't have any the same kind of level of problems on a supply chain. How long are they ready to go? And what's the roadmap? Do they have the right brand positioning? Do they have a USP? Do they have information on their consumers? Do they have the right brand story? Do they know how to write it? Research and development. Do they have the right labs, the right teams to work on that, to bring a product that is meaningful for the end consumer, which is always important. That's what's going to drive repurchase. Do they have also the right agency to design what they want in terms of brand identity, product design, and can it be come to life? Can it be industrialized at the right cost? All those questions that we all ask ourselves in the beauty industry. Concept, product development, all the phase of industrialization, supply chain, which is a huge topic also these days. Do they know how to build a go-to-market strategy? How to balance the retail? Everybody was telling during COVID, yes, everything direct to consumer. Now we're seeing all the brands coming back to retail environment. How to organize this? Which retail channel? Which country? All those questions are very important to ask. Financing solution. Do they want to go pitch a VC? Do they know how to do it? Should they go get a bank loan? All those questions that needs to be asked, and for them to feel that they have the right and strong project. So obviously, after listing all that, we know that cracking into the consumer market is a tough challenge. It requires resilience, passion, and you need to believe in that project for a long time. But it's totally worth it. Why? And that's why we really believe it's interesting to work with them, is that they already have worked a number of years to build a community that is super engaged with them. So if the project is right, then it can be really a great, meaningful project that will allow them as well to step out of this dependency on social media, that is really changing right now.
Are there any questions? You have a question from Anisha.
I don't know. Do we have a microphone? Perfect.
Hi. Oh, it's working. Hi, Quentin, Sophie, Lisa. I think these are really very relevant points that you raised today. I have some feedback and thoughts, and then I have a two-part question for you.
Okay.
Okay. So as a business owner of an emerging new beauty tech platform in the sustainability space, I totally agree with you on how the authentic storytelling hits the right notes with the customer, because we also live in Dubai where every second person has 1.3 million followers. And it's very intimidating for new creators. As a business, we are very careful of who we work with. So the micro influencers, if you look at the head, torso, tail, it's the head influencers that a brand or a retailer needs to have a big budget for. But for smaller brands that are startups, we have to be very careful in who we appoint as an ambassador, right? And it's the influencers or the ambassadors with the right voice and the resonance who live the values of the brand that are actually successful, because their audience knows that whatever they're reviewing and what they're talking about is actually true, versus an influencer receiving a box of products and they just do an unboxing and it's over. So the first part was the appreciation that everything that you're saying is really relevant and you're able to pick up on what are the key ingredients into making the right strategy for a creator or a brand that's planning to enter a new market. The question is that the whole world yesterday panicked when Instagram was down. They were authentic people that lost a lot of followers that they'd built over many years who were sweating. And then there were a lot of accounts that had bought their followers that also lost a lot of accounts. So in a way, it was seen as the world as an Instagram bug, where on the inside, they're planning to clean up everything that doesn't abide by the policies and everything that is fake and not authentic. In this scenario, given that Meta is losing popularity very fast, as is indicated by the stocks, and even what happened yesterday, how can a creator protect themselves or a brand protect themselves in safeguarding what they stand for and the kind of content they've created? And the second part is, now that the world is changing, do you see something like an Instagram where people are already thinking about switching to?
So there are actually many questions in your questions.
That was the whole idea.
No, but what's interesting in what you were saying, and I'll go back to your last point, is how everything is changing fast on social media platforms. Meta is losing some shares or share value, also because they are trying to copycat what TikTok is doing, because it's more video content. And maybe it's the right way to go, maybe it's the wrong way to go. What happened yesterday is indeed major cleaning in fake followers. It has some impact in Middle East because a lot of creators in Middle East has bought a few fake followers. But it happens daily. Instagram is cleaning daily a lot of fake accounts or cleaning inactive accounts if it's not fake, which obviously has an impact when it happens at that scale. But what it calls up for is that indeed this level of dependency that any creator has with those platforms is a threat. Obviously, when you are a brand and you have customers, you have your CRM program, you have your database, you own it. For any creator, they don't own it. It's owned by Meta. So the day Meta decides to close, everything they've worked for the past 10 years is gone. So that's why they're looking at diversification, and also because the audience is looking for more interesting content that maybe Instagram or even TikTok on short snackable content cannot offer. That's why you have Patreon, that's why you have those masterclass, that's why you have all those different platforms that are being built for the creators to be able to diversify. Where we believe there's really something interesting, and that's why we are supporting those creators in building their brands, is that they are able to step out totally, partially, of that dependency on the social media platforms.
And that makes our business even more relevant for them, because they can get out of the digital space and get into the consumer-facing space, where, as Quentin was saying, they own the data, they own the consumer, but they also own what they sell. So that's what I was meaning by shifting from attention-driven to ownership. It doesn't mean that they have to get away from being creators, because, for a lot of them, it's a passion, it's something that they love to do, and as you were saying, that they put their heart in. But it's the opportunity to go to something that is a bit more long-standing, and it doesn't have to be beauty, it has to be passion-led, authentic-driven, but that's the opportunity, and that's why we are here.
Yes.
Hi, thank
Hello.
you. That was a really good talk. So, As a beauty founder, obviously we know that it's essential to work with influencers. But aside from, the issues that are happening in the social media platforms, like a lot of feedback that I get from other founders and other brands is that sometimes they're going for like, I don't know, the influencers that, let's say, have like north of 1 million followers. They're spending a hell of a lot of money, getting no return for it, no sales, not the right kind of engagement that they want. And then a lot of brands are using a bunch of micro influencers, and then they feel their message sometimes gets diluted. So I would love to know what your advice is to beauty brands that work with content creators and influencers. How do you guide people on how, first of all, like how you should have a kind of marketing plan to work with influencers, and how to ensure that, like, they're respecting your brand identity and your goals, and at the same time, obviously optimizing sales, because that's ultimately the goal?
That's a super good question you're asking, and that's why we also created Shimmers. It's because we're a bit of a tipping point. There has been for the past 7, 8, maybe 10 years, those influencer marketing agencies, PR agencies have been building that collaboration with influencers. But you've seen on the charts that I've shared a bit earlier that what, as a brand, and maybe not you as a brand founder and as a young company, you're asking creators, maybe some collaboration projects that are not really matching what they're expecting for them. But more importantly, when you talk to any influencer, any creator, they don't think for themselves only. They say, okay, what's beneficial for my audience? How am I going to grow my audience? Is my audience going to be interested? And that, for you as a brand, that's how you need to think about it. And when they actually ask for co-creation, for collabs, for long-term programs, that's really what you need to work with influencers. And maybe instead, and that's what we do when we talk with some influencers, say, you know what, we know a few small business owners, and instead of invoicing for $20,000 for 2 posts, why don't you actually get some equity in that company? And so it's an investment. They actually bring in money, and on top of that, they can bring also additional posts, and you establish that long-term collaboration. So it might be not a quick activity that you could build, but you're really at a tipping point where just sending a contract to an influencer or sending out products won't do it anymore. It won't do it for the influencer. It won't do it for the audience. So it's a waste of money for everybody. They're going to do the quick bucks, but it's not even interesting for them. So that's why maybe you need to include them more, and that's what we're trying to do. We do matchmaking between those creators, some brands, and that's the kind of new business models we should look into. And maybe some, and that's what we're showing, maybe not all of them are ready to be founders by themselves, but why not team up and actually try to create meaningful projects with them, because they own that audience. They know how they know very well social media platforms. They know how to leverage this. You have the knowledge for a brand. Maybe it's time to find that new business partner model. Could be a way forward.
Hello. Yeah, thanks, Quentin and Sophie. Very helpful, insightful presentation. I have 2 questions. One, in terms of the future, you see platforms migrating to short-form content.
Do you mind speaking a bit closer?
Oh, sorry. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see platforms moving to short-form content, right? TikTok, YouTube Shorts. And these videos become shorter and shorter by the day. What do you think is the potential of these media to build a long-standing community and relationship with their audience? Because one common thread in terms of successful brands has been a really invested audience, right? And I think a large part of that is because of long-form content, where you can really share your life over an extended period of time. With short-form content, a lot more edits and less personality, how successful do you think would those sort of media be in sort of building an invested audience? That's question number 1. And question number 2 is, I think that at this stage, there could be as many brands as there are influencers, right? So do you expect a major inflection point because the audience has limited wallets and the priorities of that audience keeps changing. So how do you see that moving in the future, say 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
So
So that's good questions.
yeah.
I think I'm happy to address your first question on short content versus long forms of content. I don't think it's an either or type of model that's going to take place. It's probably going to be a mix of both. And there's different generations. We see that the younger generation, they like to switch and they like to see a lot of different things. Hence why short forms of content are very popular with them. But as we were showing, platforms like Patreon or YouTube with subscriptions, they are growing, they are developing because there is an audience for longer forms of content, for in-depth form of content that will take more time to create. Hence why it's kind of type of paid form type of content, but that has more depth and that is probably closer to journalism as we've known it a few decades ago. So we go through phases, there's been journalism, then very short form videos, etc. And we will go into something a bit more balanced. So a good media strategy will probably have to continue to be a mix of both.
And in terms of how it will evolve, definitely what is driving the evolution of things is really the level of expectation of the audiences that is really rising. So it actually requires a lot more investments in terms of energy, in terms of money, even for those content creators. Probably the amateurs will be less and less in a few years, and there will be more and more professionals actually making business out of it, because before you had 3 channels, 3 platforms to choose from. The algorithm were pretty easy to master. It was taking a few years, but then you knew your way up. Now the diversification between the platforms is so huge that it really requires professionals. And some of the creators have teams of like 8, 10, 12 people working for them to be able to maintain that, plus some outside suppliers here and there to help them structure how they do editing. The editing for TikTok, for the same content, for TikTok, for YouTube, for Instagram, for Reels is completely different because it's not the same channel, it's not the same way of consuming content. And you scroll on your screen on social media 100 meters a day. So how do you make sure your content is really visible in all that space? Those are becoming more and more challenging, and it's going to become more and more professional. And that's why we're also here to support them in creating things that are meaningful and more engaging. You had a question up front? Yeah.
Thank you both for this informative session. I can speak for my struggles because I'm planning to launch my startup and have been doing research on this since last few months, tried to collaborate with consultants or, I haven't reached out to you yet. But what I noticed is this market is very different. It's unlike the population is less and we depend a lot on influencers, and somehow it requires a lot of monetary investment to start with. For my struggle, I would say that I couldn't go ahead with a lot of proposals because what I was investing in a product development or say launching, much more than that, it was going into maybe influencer and marketing. Whereas I am promoting something which is very clean and very safe. I'm still looking for answers and I'm hopeful that something would work out, but would you have any kind of programs for startups or anything that you can suggest which would help? Of course, later down the line, if I get successful, it will surely help. But right now, what would you suggest for that?
So yes, we do. And the way we do it is, again, trying to get creators and brand founders to collaborate. Because that's what we believe is the future, is really creating something more meaningful in that collaboration than just a transaction between content for visibility for a brand. Because that's what the creators are expecting. You have all the influencers, marketing agencies, PR agencies, booking influencers for you. Now there's a level of frustration that's huge on the creator side, and that's why they're launching their own business. So it's going to become direct competition to you as a founder. Where it can be interesting is to imagine a workshop, see who are the right people. Maybe it's not about having 50 of them, it's about having a few of them who will be really taking part into providing the right level of input in terms of creative, even in terms of content creation. Instead of booking a photographer, booking a studio, have that influencer, have those content creators create the content for you. And maybe again, same, is there some form of other transaction that can happen, that can be put into place, because they have really a high value of things more than just providing you access to a smaller and smaller portion of audience organically, because that's what's happening on the platforms, because the platforms want you to invest actually advertising money on the. So that's why we really need to challenge the statu quo.
I think we have time for one last question.
One more question.
No? Very good.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
On fait la descente. On descend là?
Vas-y.